is een dag voor werk, Jesse. Je moet doen en je zal doen wat ik zeg je moet doen. Ik ben je baas. Als je dat niet doet, dan stel je niet werken. Het werk zelf moeilijk, maar je moet het doen. Je verstaan, Annie? Wrong answer. This is the right answer. We will say that you do understand, okay? Guys, I just told you in Dutch that I'm Carl. I told you in Dutch I'm your boss. I said today's your first day of work at the underground mine. You guys got to do whatever I tell you. If you don't do what I tell you, it's easy. I fire you.
She's not gonna last long.
No? How come?
She doesn't like being told what to do.
Well, so I just told you that in Dutch because I wanted to give you guys an idea of what it would have felt like to have been a miner here back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Everybody that came here is going to be an immigrant. They're coming in from a multitude of different countries, European countries, and they spoke a multitude of different languages. You come here, if you were Swedish, you'd be speaking Swede. Your boss is screaming at you in English. You had no idea what he was saying, but this was the best mine in the state of Minnesota. This is the one you wanted to work at. So when he said verstaan, that's the only word you maybe would have understood, you nodded your head. Okay? Guys, I already told Shayla and Robert, I said, I can speak to you in Dutch because I'm an immigrant. So I tell people I have some commonality with the miners of yesteryear because I'm an immigrant. I also have some commonality with miners of yesteryear because I'm a retired miner. So I spent 32 years in a mine, 25 miles south of here. I am more than willing to share those experiences with you if that's what something you guys want to talk about, okay? Have you guys been here before? Anybody been here before?
Like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Have you been underground?
Yep.
Okay, so, I don't know, what's your name?
Luis.
Louis? Luis or Louis?
Louis.
Louis, okay.
French, yeah.
32 years in the mine, did my hearing, NORAD, so typically I shout out whatever I think I heard. You really have to correct me completely if you think I'm wrong, okay? You guys are gonna watch a movie here, and the movie is called The Cadillac of Mines. And it's gonna make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. You guys are all gonna be thinking, I could work at this mine. Well, we shut down in 1962. And in 1962, this place had evolved into a great place to work. But I want to bring you guys back maybe to a little bit of a mindset to being a miner here in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It wouldn't have been such a great place to work, okay? What's your name? Jackie and what?
Jordan.
Jordan? Oh, you, and what's your name's Logan, right? I'm gonna watch I'll put the movie on. It's gonna take about 10 minutes. I'm gonna sneak out of here, come back in 10 minutes, and then we're gonna restart the tour. Talk about the rock, we'll talk about some lighting, we'll talk about, are you guys aware that we had a physics lab down below?
Yes.
Well, some of you aren't aware. We're gonna explain what happened in those physics labs, what they were all about. And then we're gonna go outside, walk around, go through all the buildings. You guys got an hour?
Yes, sir.
All right, you guys got 2 hours?
Yes.
These tours, and by the way, this is a very casual tour, Jackie. Anytime you guys want to bust those, you guys can go ahead and take off, okay? Otherwise, I get to be long-winded a lot of times, so, all right? I'm gonna start the movie.
Soudan Underground Mine was producing some of the richest iron ore in the world. Ore that would be converted to steel for our automobiles, our farm equipment, even our toys. That steel may have been forged with iron ore from the Soudan Underground Mine, the Cadillac of underground mines. The Soudan Mine was actually in operation from 1882 through 1962. Up until the late 1800s, northeastern Minnesota was virtually undiscovered. Various attempts were made to find minerals in the area, and in 1865, miners thought they had discovered gold. The gold rush blazed a trail to the area, the Vermilion Trail, which opened up the region for further exploration and development. The prospectors didn't have much luck finding gold, but their efforts helped to uncover the vast ore deposits in northeastern Minnesota. The Soudan Mine opened in 1882, and Austrians, Bohemians, and Slovenians started the immigration to these newly discovered ore fields. Others followed from Italy, Scandinavia, and England, all searching for jobs and a better way of life in this new world. The Soudan Mine was Minnesota's first iron ore mine. Soudan started as a series of open pit mines. However, it soon became evident that surface mining provided limited access to the huge quantities of natural ore hidden beneath the surface. As Soudan miners dug deeper and deeper, they created extremely unstable conditions. Trees, rocks, and mud could easily slide into the holes as the men worked. Even one falling rock could be life-threatening. In the 1890s, to ensure safe mining conditions and gain greater access to the rich ore, Soudan Mine began operations underground. The mine was well planned, well kept, complete and efficient, and in fact, earned the reputation of being the Cadillac of underground mines. By the time Soudan Underground Mine closed in 1962, excavation on the 27th level was well underway. The mine was 2,350 feet deep, and in all, 54 miles of tunnels had been dug. During the 80 years the mine was in operation, it supplied 15.5 million tons of the richest iron ore in the world. What you'll see here today is the mine as it was left in 1962. Welcome to the Soudan Underground Mine State Park. To develop underground mine operations here, tunnels needed to be dug from the surface down. These tunnels were called shafts. Shaft number 8, the shaft open for tours today, most closely followed the ore formation, so it was extensively developed during the final years of the mine's operation. As the shaft was cut deeper and deeper into the earth, a hoist system needed to be installed to transport men, equipment, and ore. So the shaft was fitted with 2 cages, each over a skip, suspended on long steel cables. This safe hoisting system allowed quick access to the levels below the surface. A hoistman in the engine house ran the hoisting drum that controlled the cables attached to the cages. This system is still in operation today. Miners rode the cages, similar in design to the ones you as visitors use. The skips attached beneath the cages were used to lift the ore to the surface. The 90-foot-high head frame, which serves as a landmark to the mine, is actually an integral part of the hoisting system. The cables which run from the engine house to the cages are fed through the head frame. It's at the base of this head frame that you'll enter the cages for the ride half a mile down to tour the 27th level. Once the miners had sunk the shaft to the desired level, they constructed horizontal tunnels in the softer rock to get to the ore bodies. These tunnels are called drifts. On the 27th level, the drift extends 3/4 of a mile into the earth. On your underground tour, you will take a train ride through this drift. Along your route, you will see the actual results of the miners' efforts. Upon reaching the ore, the miners cut raises up into the ore body. At the top of the raises was where the actual mining for ore occurred. This small opening was called a stope. Drifts, crosscuts, and raises to the ore body were driven by drilling and blasting. After blasting, a barman would enter the newly created area and tap the ceiling, known to the miners as the back. The barman's job was to rid the back of loose rocks, which could fall and injure the miners. Once the area was determined to be safe, drilling crews went to work. Horizontal cut and fill is a method unique to underground mining. As the miners drilled ore from the stope, the height of the ceiling or the back increased, making it difficult to reach. So the miners devised a way to raise the level of the floor at the same rate as they raised the back. While ore was being excavated, miners drove other raises up to the level above. They took rock falling down these raises and spread it on the floor of the stope. In order to keep the raises open, miners built wooden cribs with timbers to prevent the rock from falling down the raise. Ore tuggers were used to spread the rock on the floor, and most importantly, to scrape broken ore from the stope down the ore passes. An IMCO loader was positioned at the base of these passes. The loader was used to pick up the ore and dump it into waiting Granby cars. The Granby cars were pulled down the track in the drift, the same track you ride on your tour, to the shaft station. There, a skip tender unloaded the ore from the Granby cars into the skips. He signaled the hoistman, and the ore was hoisted to the surface. The skip automatically tipped, dumping the ore into Larry cars. These cars ran on a track from the shaft to the crusher house, where the huge chunks were broken into smaller pieces. The ore was then run out to an ore pocket for loading into railroad cars, or dumped onto stockpiles. Railroad cars took the ore to boats on Lake Superior, and the ore was shipped off to the steel mills. Gerald Peterson, who worked both as a skip tender and a hoistman, recalls his experiences.
We were a very close group, the skip tenders underground. There were 3 groups, one for each shift. And we always would try, each group of 4 skip tenders would try to beat the other group, And boastfully and truthfully, I was on a crew that we did make 100 skip on day shift one time, and that was very high.
As you tour the mine surface, you can still see the crusher house and the trestle out to the train tracks and stockpile area, the engine house, and the drill shop.
Steel isn't steel like it used to be. Like the carpenters and everything, they're all they use it, but they don't have Soudan ore no more either.
Sudan Underground Mine opened up the mining industry in Minnesota. The mine supported agricultural and industrial growth across the country and the world. However, by the early 1960s, changing technology decreased the need for Sudan's iron ore, and the system was no longer profitable. So on December 15, 1962, the mine ceased operations. In 1965, it was given as a gift to the state of Minnesota, and today holds a priority place on the National Register of Historic Places.
Miners knew each other and they all had nicknames, and we knew each other mostly by the nicknames, but it was a close-knit family. And there'd be 3 sheds. You got to know practically every man that worked underground, because you were from one level to the other. So that was a safe mine. It was a good mine to work with. It was the Cadillac of mines, and a real good place to work.
Welcome to Soudan Underground Mine State Park. The mine is quiet now, but a rich legacy of history, mining lore, and technical accomplishments await your discovery. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed your tour.
Any questions, Robert?
What was your nickname?
Dutch. But I never worked at this mine yet.
Yeah, you're funny.
I'm old, but I'm not that old. Any questions, Jessica, about the movie itself?
No, sir.
All right.
Did it say Larry cars? I was trying to remember the names of
The Larry car, that's what the skip transfers its load into, and then the Larry car carries everything into the crusher. Come on up here, guys. I got to show you something. This is so everybody is aware exactly what we mined here. We mined iron ore, and the iron ore that we mined here was a specialty iron ore. The ore that we have here is a non-magnetic ore, so it's called hematite, and it's called actually specular hematite. So this is a very, very special ore. This one's a little bit heavy for you, Logan. We're going to give you a different one. How about this one? How about there, that one? That's a good one for you, okay? you probably handle this. The stuff that we mined here was actually, this stuff as it comes out of the ground is 70% iron. It is 30% oxygen. This stuff as it comes out of the ground is 0% silica. So it is pure iron oxide as it comes out of the ground. You can have that too, okay? Put that in your pocket.
I will put it.
So,
Lots of machine.
what?
Lots of machine.
Where are you from? Windshield. So guys, this stuff is actually rich enough that you can weld two pieces of this back together. That's how good this stuff was. So this is actually the richest ore that they've ever found anywhere in the world. Okay? All we have to do to mine this stuff is you gotta drill it, you gotta blast it loose, you gotta bring it up to the surface, you gotta crush it, and this stuff is ready to be sent out to the steel mills out east. That's all we have to do, okay?
Is there some still left in the mine, or is it all kept up?
Sheila, there's a lot left in this mine. I
Really?
don't know if you guys are aware of this, but here in Sudan, they actually discovered 7 bodies of ore here. Those 7 bodies of ore were spread across 1.5 miles up here on surface, and they stood completely independent of one another. They stood completely encapsulated with waste rock, and the waste rock is what we call elite greenstone. But they actually stood in the ground like 7 columns or 7 fingers, Louis. They stood in the ground at a 78-degree angle. So out here, we sunk our shaft to run parallel to those 7 columns of ore. And then when we get down to a level that we want to work at, all we have to do is horizontally tunnel out. It's called drifting, and we can drift out and access any one of those 7 columns that we want at that level. Now, we were open here for 80 years, and in 80 years, we had progressed down, and we were at the half-mile mark, 2,341 feet, 27th level. That's the bottom of where we mined. We had plans to go another 200 feet below the 27th level. We know that that's there because that U.S. Steel had disclosed that to the state of Minnesota. But the way taxation worked prior to 1962 is if you're a mining company, you have to pay taxes on your known and your disclosed ore reserves. So if you're a smart mining company, you don't go out and find every bit of ore, and so you can start getting taxed on it. So these guys were ahead of the game. They were told, they told the state we got 2 million tons of ore left here in this mine. You got geologists that have come through here, Louis, and he said that these ore bodies, these columns, they actually can go down another 3.5 miles. So they can be 4 miles deep.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
So there's plenty of ore left here.
Didn't know why this area has the ore that much.
Well, it's kind of funny because there are 3 iron ranges in the state of Minnesota. You can just have Logan come on in and we'll close that door. Would you do that for me? Andy, close the door? Sorry. Yeah, well, then he can run all he wants, okay? So here, this ore, I told you already, this is non-magnetic ore. So this stuff, quite a bit different. This stuff actually started out at one time. It was what they call sedimentary magnetite. So it was actually laying under oceanic waters here in this area. Pretty big bodies of this high quality ore. Then we had volcanic action in this area. We had tectonic action in this area, and actually came up and stood these ore bodies up on end at a 78-degree angle. We had that tectonic action that sent and vented internal earthly heat past it. That air temperature of that vented heat was in excess of 2,700 degrees. 2,700 degrees is enough to change the properties from magnetite to hematite. And if you can't fathom that, I'll tell people, well, we can do it by explaining the taconite industry where I work. We start the taconite industry, and if I could go ahead, we start with a very poor grade iron ore. Taconite looks like this here. Shayla, I'm going to have you hold that. This is a magnet, and you'll see that this taconite is magnetic. Okay. This stuff is very poor grade, Jordan. This stuff is 30% iron, 70% silicas.
70% waste that has to be.
The waste that we have to get rid of. So what we're gonna do with taconite is we will actually drill this stuff, we blast this stuff, and we'll blast this stuff into chunks the size of Volkswagens. We don't care. As long as we can pass it through a shovel bucket, we can get it into a rail car or a production truck. We'll get that Volkswagen-sized chunk of material up to our primary crusher. The primary crusher will crush it down to 7-inch material. We'll send that 7-inch material to another crusher where we'll get it down to 3/4-inch material. We convey that to another building where we're going to put it through the rod mill. The rod mill will get it down to this consistency, kind of like gravel. We'll get it through the ball mill, and that'll get it down to the consistency of face powder. When it's at face powder consistency, Jesse, we magnetically separate it from the silicas. We'll end up with this stuff. We'll send the silicas out to the tailings basin. We take this stuff, we ball it, we bake it, we introduce it, and where I worked, we were using a controlled temperature of 2,350 degrees. We have an exothermic reaction that takes place inside the furnace, gets it up to 2,700 degrees, and guess what happens? Properties change from magnetite to very strong magnetite to non-magnetic. So it's basically that 2,700 degree temperature that we experienced from venting that changed our magnetite to hematite. Okay?
So that's preferred.
Oh no, this was preferred.
This was preferred, but you ran out of that.
We didn't run out of it.
It just wasn't feasible to mine it.
Wasn't feasible. We no longer have a market for it. So this stuff here, I told you already, it's 70% iron, 30% oxygen. So when the steel makers were in the early years, they used to use a method called the open hearth furnace. And they basically take a big vat, they fill it with tons and tons of natural ores that they find out on the Masai Range. Very abundant stuff. This stuff is 70% iron, 30% silica. We don't care about the oxygen content in that stuff. So you basically fill the vat up, you get it into the molten state, the slag or the silicas float to the top, you skim the silicas away, and you got a vat full of molten iron, right? You ship that stuff up over to the steel mill, and the steel mills are going to add limestone and they're going to add coke or coal. That is going to introduce even more carbon. The steel makers didn't have a good way of getting rid of carbon, so the only kind of steel that they could make is high carbon steel, and high carbon steel is going to be way too brittle to create good quality steel. So they wanted to figure out, how do we get rid of that carbon? And they said, they figured out that if we introduce this stuff as a sweetener, this stuff will melt down. You got iron, and you're going to have oxygen gets released. That oxygen will actually attach itself to the carbons. The carbons go up in the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, and the steel makers had the ability to control the carbon content. Depending on how much of this stuff they want to put in, that would lower that carbon content down. So it's good, great steel, okay? 1950, steel makers discovered the basic oxygen furnace. With the basic oxygen furnace, you can pump pure oxygen into the burden. Not air, pure oxygen. And they had a better way of controlling that carbon content. 1962, the conversion from open hearth to basic oxygen furnaces was complete. U.S. Steel shut down its last open hearth furnace.
Nail in the coffin to this
It was. And then, so October of 62, U.S. Steel shut down its last open hearth. Everything had been converted. 2 months after they shut that open hearth furnace, we got shut down. And we're never gonna open up again because this stuff costs too much money to get out of the ground.
It's way more cost effective to do the pit style.
Oh yeah, the pellets, way cheaper. And guys, just in volume, I tell people, this place was open for 80 years, and in 80 years we produced 15.5 million tons of high-grade iron ore. Where I worked, we could produce 15.5 million tons of high-grade iron ore pellets in less than 2 years. So And we were not the biggest pellet producer in the state. We got someone that could basically do that in a year if they wanted to. Okay? These, by the way, these are still taconite iron ore pellets. It's just that this ore here has been beneficiated. It's gotten rid of all the silicas. This is still Fe2O3, so there is still oxygen associated with it. We've actually tried to we use these things to go directly into the blast furnaces. But nowadays, everybody wants to convert over to the electric arc furnaces to make steel, because they can recycle scrap steel. They have to still use some makeup iron that we want to make that scrap steel, add this to the scrap steel and make a good steel. We actually are right now in the process of converting everything over to these things. And these are pure iron. They're called iron nuggets. So these are direct reduction, okay? Lots of talking there. So we're gonna say you 4 guys, you guys have applied here at work. We have management, and I have accepted your applications. I'm gonna offer you guys all a job. But I'm gonna be saying, yeah, because we never had any women working here. That's why I'm saying just picking out a guy. But I'm gonna offer you guys all a job. You guys all wanna be miners. That's where the big money is. If you guys are miners, you guys will get paid by the ton of ore that you can get to the surface. You're not gonna get paid by the hour. Well, I'm gonna put you guys on drill teams. The drill teams that I'm gonna put you guys on will have 3 men on them, and all 3 guys will speak 3 different languages. We do that intentionally just because, number 1, we don't want you guys standing around BSing all day. And you guys can't BS all day, you guys can't
complain.
Union up and stuff.
And you can't union.
Yes.
That's it. That was the big deal. So you can't create a union. So again, we opened up in 1882, Jackie, and we ended up, we didn't get a union here until 1943.
Wow.
So they kept that we probably wouldn't have got a union in 1943, except that we were in the middle of the war. And they needed our ore to make that low carbon steel. And so they had to have this stuff, okay? So now we're gonna get you guys as miners. 1882, we started with open pit mining. So we created, on this site right now, there are 7 deep, sharp-walled, dangerous pits. By 1892, those were getting so dangerous that we had to start protecting the miners a little bit. We had to start protecting the equipment at the bottom of those pits. So we started tunneling underground. Once we got underground, we stayed underground. So by 1895, we were 100% in the dark, okay? Now you guys are gonna be the miners. You guys are gonna be expected to work underground. You guys are gonna be expected to work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And you guys are gonna be using lighting, and this is gonna be your lights. The company is gonna be providing you with candles. At the end of the month, the candles, you're gonna have to pay for the candles. So they will be deducting the cost of the candles from your paycheck. You guys are gonna be deducting, these guys didn't break because there wasn't any supplies. You had to buy the supplies from the company anyway. So you guys are gonna have to buy dynamite, and the dynamite again at the end of the month, you gotta pay for this stuff, okay? Now, this lighting. Where's Jordan? Where's Logan? Robert, I'm gonna have you hold that, okay? That is, by the way, that is 1 candle power there. And if you shut the lights down, it's not gonna be all that light for you to work at. So this little jimmy that it's holding it was actually designed to be put into your hard hat. You can walk around with it. The thing is, with this candle power, that doesn't stay lit in drafty areas. So if you're walking up that 3/4 of a mile where you took a train ride, that candle's not gonna stay lit. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to walk in the dark. We're gonna shut the lights down here on here a little bit. And we used these for about 25 years here, Louis, and then we got smart. We came up with a much better light, and that is this. And I think I've just screwed myself here. I have to do something here. Do that. This is actually a 2-compartment little lamp.
Mini acetylene torch?
A what?
A mini acetylene torch?
It is. We're gonna just
Flame away from it.
do that.
It's gonna explode, isn't it?
No, I'm gonna have you hold that, Shayla. So, this is basically a 2-compartment little torch. This half is filled with water. This half you fill with calcium carbide. Calcium carbide looks a little bit like gravel, and it actually, once the water drips into the calcium carbide, it'll create that gas called acetylene. And so the carbide looks like this. Looks like gravel. Got a smell to it. Can you smell it?
Oh, yeah.
So, ooh, yeah, it's got a nasty smell to it. You want to try it?
It smells bad, but. You want to smell it?
Oh, you want to smell it
Who's
too?
the point? If it smells bad.
Here you go.
Smell.
You want to try it?
It smells like gym socks.
This stuff, I'm actually going to light this candle, this lamp up for you. So, you can see it's already making a little bit of gas. So we are going to do it this way. Put the bottom back on. Let's see if we can get this screw on. I'm going to end up closing the cap, opening the valve, and I will let the drip start happening. So it's happening right now. I think we might have enough in here. There we go. And so this is your light that you guys will use for your 12-hour shift. And this light will stay lit walking into the draft. This thing is actually designed to be worn on your hard hat up here like this. And then you guys can walk around hands-free. Works pretty well. Okay? A lot of people say, well, how long can you get off of one charge? And if I were to fill this whole bottom container up with calcium carbide, fill the top with water, adjust that water so I'm not wasting it, you can actually get 6 hours out of this. So you basically walk in at the beginning of your shift buoy, you walk up to your work area, you got this on, you come out of that work area back to your lunchroom at mid-shift, you shove a couple of sandwiches down your throat, you reload and go right back to work. You guys aren't getting paid by the hour, so no sense wasting time in the lunchroom, right? Andy, you got this figured out?
Impressively right.
It is. And actually these things, and I'm not supposed to tell you guys this, because I'm part of the DNR. These things used to go home with the guys at night. In those early years, in the 1800s, early 1900s, I should say, these things actually, a lot of these folks that worked here came in from Slovenian countries, strong Catholic background, lots of children, lots of mouths to feed, pork, beef, chicken. That was expensive if you had to buy it at the store. Venison was cheap if you went out and got it at night. So these things were great for shining deer. They work even better for tracking deer. So they say that with this light, contrary to a flashlight, this light actually makes that blood on the snow pop like it's fluorescent. So again, you guys would have to pay for your calcium carbide. The company would provide it, but at the end of the month, they're going to be deducting the cost of the calcium carbide from your paycheck.
Sounds like the military.
Go ahead.
Sounds like the military.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
What months do they work? Is it year round or
Year
was
round. Here you could work year
in the
round.
winter as well?
You don't care about the environment outside because you're going to be inside
Ground,
in a
okay.
controlled environment. It is going to be, Louis, it's going to be 52 degrees down below. And it is 52 degrees down there 365 days a year, 24/7. So you never had to worry about working in the rain. You got to work in a nice dry environment, okay? There is one little issue with this lamp. I can't shut it off. I can't stop the acetylene from being made, so I have to just let it burn out. If I don't let it burn out, I can shut the flame off, but I can't stop that chemical reaction. So if we had it in volume here, we could potentially have an explosive situation. Speaking about explosive situation, should we light this up?
Yes.
Like that?
Yes.
Any questions about this, guys? You guys want to talk a little bit about the physics labs that we had underground here?
Yeah, sure.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Come on now. I'm your boss, buddy. You gotta do whatever I tell you, okay? Come on over here a little bit.
Stanberry.
Right here. So, guys, first of all, I'm going to give you guys each a brochure. This will explain to you what exactly was going on down underground there for about 40 years. So, yeah, you can check. So, underground, we actually excavated on the 27th level. We excavated 2 laboratories. Both those laboratories were the size of football fields, so they were 300 feet long. They were 75 feet wide, 40 feet high. In those laboratories, we put 3 different experiments. The first one was for Dr. Marvin Marshak out of the University of Minnesota. He wanted to prove down there that protons will decay. And to prove that, he said he's going to take a bunch of tubing, he's going to fill the tubing up with argon gas, seal the tubes off, put electrodes in there, start monitoring the argon gas. He said if that gas goes missing, he can extrapolate and say, assume that protons are decaying. He had a very primitive little laboratory on level 23. Didn't have any luck. We built him a big one, very sophisticated. We brought down 256 big modules, all filled up with argon gas. Monitored for another 7 years, still nothing went missing. So he said, this does not mean that that was a failed experiment. It does mean that he miscalculated on the length of time it's going to take for a proton to decay. He said, in time, it'll happen, but it's going to take considerably longer than he thought. It's going to take, in years, 10 to the 32nd power. I'm a retired miner, I'm not a mathematician, so I had to ask, what exactly does that mean?
It's a lot of
He said,
zeros.
well, if you write down the number 10 and then fill in 32 more zeros behind it, that's how many years it's going to take for that proton to decay. So he said, it's not happening in our shift, right?
Yep.
So, we pulled out of there. We had a vacant laboratory sitting down there. Fermi Lab out of Chicago, out of Batavia, Illinois, came up here and they said, we got the Tevatron down in Batavia. We'd like to send you guys a beam of neutrinos to try to catch. They said, so we'd like to put the neutrino detector underground in that laboratory. And they said, well, it wasn't going to work for them because it wasn't pointed in the right direction. The state of Minnesota said, no problem, we'll excavate you a second laboratory down there. So we did, and we pointed that one directly at Batavia, Illinois. We built down here, we built this detector, and I don't know if you can see it from there, Louis, but this detector is the stop sign. And this stop sign is actually 28 feet across. It is 90 feet thick, it's 6,000 tons of steel, and it is actually 486 1-inch thick steel stop signs. And those 486 stop signs are hanging like files in a file cabinet. In between each one of those stop signs, we put this stuff. This is the special light scintillator plastic. It'll pick up light from anywhere within this plastic, send it right over to this fiber optic cable. That fiber optic cable will pick up that light message, send it to the end of the cable into the computer banks, and we can analyze and we can make sure that the detection that we found was actually one of ours, neutrinos, okay? So, Batavia, down in Batavia, they've got, Fermilab's got the Tevatron. And the Tevatron is an underground particle accelerator. They actually take hydrogen protons and they get these things ripping around this 4-mile racetrack. One time around is 4 miles. They get them going around this thing at a speed of 56,000 times per second. So they're flying around this thing at almost the speed of light. They release the hydrogen protons, smash them into graphite shields, shatter those things into billions of tiny little subatomic particles. Some of that stuff will disintegrate, some of we filter out, and some of we run through a magnetic focusing horn, and they're going to send us a beam of neutrinos, 2 trillion every 2.2 seconds of the day, and we try to catch some of those neutrinos.
So through the Earth? Just send it through the Earth, or?
It goes right through the Earth. 500 miles of rock and earth they have to pass.
Oh, oh.
Leaving us from Chicago,
Yeah.
They're beaming us through, right through the
right
earth.
through the earth.
So when it leaves Chicago, the beam is only 8 inches. By the time it gets here, 500 miles later, it's a mile across. Yeah, so we've got a 28-foot detector right dead center in the middle of it. We can't catch them. They're sending us 2 trillion every 2.2 seconds. In a 24-hour period, the best we ever did was we caught 10 to 12 of these things.
What about this location is special for that?
What makes it special?
Deep enough to do it?
Deep enough. That's what it is. So
okay.
I told you we got the greenstone here. It's rock. It's all above us. So they use that half a mile of rock and earth above us to filter out any subatomic interference. Okay.
Is all this still down there now, or?
No. So the detector has been dismantled. We've gathered all the information that we needed from this. We're trying to prove that neutrinos actually exist, and they do. We're trying to prove that they have mass, and we've proven that. And they're trying to prove that they oscillate. And oscillate means they change flavor. The same neutrino, depending on where you detect them, will be a different flavor. And now some people, you got this little devil here, right? Hogan, I got an orange right now, don't I? Watch this now. Whoop. Nothing happens. We're almost there. I got a line now. That's called oscillation. So we say it changes from a muon neutrino to an electron neutrino to a tau neutrino with distance. It all depends on where you catch them, what form it will be in. Okay?
At 0 for 1. 0 for 2, or 1 for 2, sorry.
Yeah, so we had success. We had success here. This was a success story. And then we also had the cryogenic dark matter search experiment going on down here. And the dark matter search, we were looking for WIMPs. And WIMPs is an acronym for weakly interactive massive particles. And these particles, we think, make up 5% of all dark matter. But you know what dark matter is?
No.
Good, neither did we. Neither do we. So, but I asked the scientist, well, what is dark matter exactly? And he said, Carl, he said, think about this. Let's pretend that this is the Earth. And with our Earth, we have our moon, right? The moon orbits around the Earth. And it stays in orbit because of gravity, correct? Then we got the moon and Earth, and they orbit around the sun, making our solar system. Stays in orbit because of gravity. Well, the thing with gravity is 100% dependent upon mass. And they're saying there's not enough mass out there to justify us staying in orbit. So what's out there that we can't see? Dark matter. Okay?
So what if this is, if we went there today, what is this, just all empty, or what
Just
is,
a big warehouse.
a warehouse or something?
Well, it's sitting there vacant. We're looking for new tenants.
Oh, really?
But you pull this out, and that's what's sitting there.
So all those panels, the 400,
The panels are still there. This beautiful painting.
it's still, you can go see it?
The only way you're going to go see it
Uh-huh.
without paying an extra $15, you come onto my tour. I'm the only tour guide that still sneaks people into the
Really?
slab. Yeah, and I was getting my butt chewed out every single day for it. But I always tell people, the kids, that I do it for the addies of the world. I like to plant seeds of curiosity into young people's minds. It's going to nurture there, and years from now, they're going to be able to.
I didn't see that last year when we were on the.
I took you underground?
No, I didn't. This wasn't. They didn't even mention this.
That's because you weren't on my door.
Are they reopening the underground next year?
There. So we'll be open next year.
I'm gonna have to get your number because I want to see that. I didn't even mention that.
No, you know what? And a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, seriously, my manager fired me. They said, you can't bring people in there. And they said, I mean, they walked right up to me, made eye contact, and said, you gotta promise me, Carl, you will not take anybody in there for the rest of the season.
It's like he doesn't like to be told what to do.
I don't. I always say rules.
I knew I liked him.
Rules, I say, are like
suggestions.
They're like willow trees. They're made to be bent in the wind. So,
What years did each project go?
1980 to I think to about 2000.
Okay.
2000 to 2017.
Oh, wow.
And this one does have this here, I think 2012 to 2019.
So
I'm
who-
trying to place when I was last here
Yeah.
based on what project was going,
So-
because I did go through it, I don't know what
thing about
what
this-
timeframe, though.
The cryogenic dark matter experiment, that basically gave us the right to stake claim to being the coldest spot in the entire galaxy, not the entire universe. We actually had a detector down there that we maintained and sustained at 459.6 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. That is 0.04 Kelvin. That's a couple of thousandths of a degree away from absolute zero. We got it there by super insulating the detector. We chilled that detector then with liquid nitrogen. Then we chilled that with liquid helium. And we chilled that with liquid helium isotope number 3. And then finally we chilled it down to that almost near absolute zero with helium isotope number 4.
Oh, you're a physics teacher.
Oh no!
I thought I was coming from a mine shop.
Did you hear that, Reed? Can you document that for me? I didn't tell you guys about the fuons and the fugoffs, did I?
No.
The little particles? Okay, well, we'll stop there. We won't talk anymore about them. But you know what we did have down here also? We had some of the strongest strains of bacteria ever discovered. This stuff was actually an ancient marina bacteria. It had lived underground anaerobically for 2.7 billion years, feeding on nothing but iron itself.
Wow.
They have taken this stuff out of here, and the medical world is working with it. They're hoping that this is a strong enough strain that they can utilize this and maybe finding a cure for cancer. We've got NASA here looking at this stuff because they think that this is the kind of bacteria that they're going to be finding up on Mars. You guys were aware that this used to be Minnesota's largest bat hibernacula?
No.
And we used to have roughly 25,000 bats that lived here.
I love
Jackie.
bats.
We ended up contracting the white nose syndrome.
Oh, no.
And we ended up losing 99% of our bats. We went from 25,000. This year, our bat count was 19 bats.
Oh, wow.
The only cool thing about this whole thing is this bacteria, the researchers that have taken it out of here have utilized this stuff, and they're actually finding out that this stuff can actually retard the growth of the white nose syndrome. So there's hopes, and it's all within the realm of possibilities, that this stuff could actually lead to a cure for something that has come in and out of here, and we use something that has lived here for 2.7 billion years. Okay? Crazy stuff. Any questions, Jess?
No, sir. It's great.
Why is it called Sudan? Was it a person or?
It was called Soudan because Mr. Bacon, he was a surveyor that had surveyed land all over the world. He was educated in France. When he got up here, he said this place is as cold and wet in the winter as Sudan, Africa is hot and dry in the summer. And he actually, Sudan, Africa is actually S-U-D-A-N. He said he's going to put a little bit of his French influence in there, and he's going to make it S-O-U-D-A-N, Sudan.
Interesting.
There's the
Okay.
extreme opposite of Sudan.
Questions, Louis?
Yeah.
Have I got you confused yet?
The physics, I'm impressed by that though.
Well, people have told me, Shayla, that I am dispensing prescription drugs here. This stuff here, if you're having trouble sleeping tonight at the hotel or in the camp or wherever
I
you're
read
at,
it.
put your head on the pillow, start reading this, you won't get through paragraph 1 and you'll be dead ass asleep. Okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
How you doing there, Addie? Was it Addie or Daddy? Addie. That's what I said, Addie? Let's go, Logan. You gotta do what I tell you now, I'm your boss, remember that?
Yeah, remember that there?
Lead out that way. How are you doing? Good. You know what? I usually carry, I don't have my light with me.
Sorry.
Let's see, come on from this way. Did you lose Jesse or?
This is so amazing. I can't breathe.
fun?
I can't
Let's see
read.
there. What did you understand?
So guys,
Experiments they do underground?
if we were mining, or if we were actually going underground, you guys would be getting into the cage, and the cage would be located right behind that black fence over there. You guys be getting in the cage, and the cage that you would be entering would look very similar to this big rusty box that's laying on his back. That's called the man cage. When we were mining, that would have always been attached to the ore skip. And the skip holds 6 tons of ore. So they always would have traveled as an assembly. You gotta use your imagination here a little bit. Imagine that 2-car assembly standing up on end at that 78-degree angle, okay? So we get into the cage behind the black fence. You guys see the angle over there? We travel 2,341 feet into the underground. That is the equivalence to 2 Empire State Buildings, one stacked up on top of the other. It's about a half a mile. We make that descent in about 2.5 minutes. And we're going to be dropping down at 1,000 feet per minute. And when you step out of the cage on the 27th level, you're no longer going to be standing underneath this black fence. When you step out of the cage, you're actually going to be standing underneath the tree line on the other side of the open pit over there. That's because of the angle and the distance. So for you smart people, we're going to be riding down on the hypotenuse of the angle. Okay? So that's it. If we're touring. If you're mining, that 2-car assembly would have been traveling up and down. If there was people in the cage, there would never be any ore in the skip. And if there was ore in the skip, nobody's in the cage. So let's say we're bringing up a load of ore here to the surface. The cage would come up first, and the cage would come up well beyond surface. The skip's hanging below, so it comes up right to that point right there. When it gets right there, it actually falls off the travel rail. Front wheels of that skip are narrower. Falls off the travel rail, follows a dump rail, and it'll basically dump the 6 tons of ore from the skip right into this Larry car. That Larry car would actually be positioned behind the shaft. Dumps the load. That Larry car is actually run on trolley power, so it's DC power. In the engine house over there, we have a rotary AC-DC converter. Changes AC to DC. So out here in that little ladder shack back there, we got a guy in there running a big rheostat. Basically runs that Larry car into the crusher out there, dumps the load, comes right back in, gets ready to accept the next load. The best we can bring up here, Robert, is 1 car every 8 minutes. That's it. So
I'll do that, John.
questions about that? Let's go take a look over here. We'll get you guys looking down the shaft if you want. Did you see the physics lab? All that good stuff? That all has to go down this shaft. And
Everything had to be disassembled into whatever pieces would make it.
Yep, whatever we could get into the cage. And then we had a couple of special trolleys that we could drop to lower that steel down in, because the steel went down there 20-foot length. So.
Okay.
So if you look inside here, though, you'll see 2 cables. So there are actually 2 cages inside one shaft. When one cage is up on surface, the other cage's got to be down below. And when one cage is going down, the other cage has to be going up. So it works like a counterbalance system. The only thing is, it has to be powered by a 600 horsepower electric motor over there. Any of you guys in here firefighters? I was too. What would you do? Here's something for you to ponder. You get a page and they say you guys got smoke billowing off this shaft. That's exactly what happened in 2011. We had a fire in the shaft, and what had happened is, you see that heavy corrugated steel there in the middle, kind of line. It's just a small little piece.
Yeah.
That is actually what lines the bottom 1,100 feet of shaft. Okay,
So when you make your descent, it's going to be 800 feet of concrete. You're going to go through 500 feet of natural rock, and then you're going to go through 1,100 feet of that heavy-duty corrugated steel. The maintenance guys came here one day, and they said, "Oh, we got some of that corrugated steel starting to rust out." And they said, "We're going to have to change those panels out." So they went down with a cutting torch, cut some old rusty bolts off, pulled the old panels out, put new panels in, buttoned her back up, went home for the day. Well, about 6 hours after they had gone home, somebody walked by here and it says, "You guys got a problem. There is smoke billowing out that shaft." So they called 911. 911 puts out a 3-page alarm, and 3 departments get called in. I was actually on the Tower Fire Department. Our department was the first department to show up. They said, "Carl, you are the senior officer on the department that just showed up first. You are now incident command." He said, "How are you going to put that fire out?" They said, "It is a half a mile away from you. It's all downhill. You can't see it, and we're not 100% sure where that fire exactly is." So I said, "Well," they said, what are your ideas?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to take our tender." We showed up with a tender also, so that thing had 2,700 gallons in it. I said, "I'm going to swing this gate right here, swing it wide open. I'm going to back that tender up, and I'm going to dump that 2,700 gallons out the chute. It's only going to take 20 seconds to do it. That'll put the fire out, right?" Well, the problem was the shaft isn't vertical. It's actually sitting at a 78 degree angle. Yep, they said it's going to hit the floor at some point, going to roll down the floor, and it's not going to put the fire out if it's elevated. They said that won't work. I said, "Well, my contingency plan is to bring the cage to the surface, and then eventually once it again." I said, "I'm going to attach a line to it, put the nozzle on, put that nozzle in a wide open position, and then we're just going to start lowering that cage down, keep adding 100 feet of, and then once we get down to the fire, we energize, put water to it." And they said, "Well, there's 3 problems with that. We don't know if that line will take a half a mile of water, vertical water." They said, "That's a question. Number 2, we don't know exactly where the fire is. And number 3, when that one cage is going down, the other cage has to be coming up. So that means that cage at the bottom has to pass right through the fire." And they weren't willing to risk that. So they said, "That's not going to work for us." We debated on it. We let it burn for 16 hours. We finally figured out the only way we're going to put that fire is foaming it. And we came up here, we set up to foam. We foamed for 18 hours nonstop. We went through 750 gallons of Class A foaming agent. We went through 75,000 gallons of water. We dumped foam in 10 below 0 weather. It took us 18 hours. We were monitoring the CO levels up on surface. The fire was out. We sent the cage down, and we realized that we had buried the entire 27th level floor to ceiling with foam. 200 yards west, east, we had 15 feet of foam inside the lavatories. We had 300 feet of foam inside the shaft. We had foam at every level of the underground complex.
But the fire was out.
Fire was out.
Let's stay positive.
That year we spent $3 million repairing the first 300 feet. They said that will get you guys giving tours again next year. We gave tours, but they said in the not too distant future, Louis, you're going to have to put more money into it and repair the next 500 feet above it. That's what we're doing right now. So we're going to spend $9 million this year repairing the shaft. When we get all done this year, and it's going to be done pretty soon here, we are going to have like a brand new shaft done. It's going to be a completely different look. So.
Who pays for this? State.
You do.
Minnesota?
Oh, Minnesota does, yeah.
I'm not Minnesota.
So what caused the fire? What caused the fire? Was it just friction or?
So what was happening? So I told you we got that corrugated steel that lines. Well, this shaft is pretty big. We actually lined the rail system. Actually, is what's lined. On the back side, there's still room, and then you got the rock wall. Mm-hmm. Well, back in the 1940s and the 1950s, the miners that worked here said, they're told get rid of that wood product. Well, rather than bring it up to surface and dispose of it properly, they just threw it in that big cavity sitting there. And they said in time, that stuff, in the conditions that we have down there, that stuff will wet rot. It never did wet rot. It actually dry rotted back there, and it was sitting there tinder dry. The hot slag dropped into it, That was the ignition source, was the hot slag. The fuel was that tinder dry wood product sitting back there. The air, guys, we have a natural air exchange that happens here. Air comes in from the bottoms of the 7 open pits that we've got. It comes in from the bottoms of the 13 abandoned shafts that we got on site here. It comes in, that air settles all the way down to the 27th level. When it gets there, it's got no place else to go, so it comes right up the shaft. So this was basically the world's biggest chimney fire that we had. We couldn't curtail the airflow, so that was the only option that we had.
Well, is that a new museum they're building?
No, that was built here because that was the cement plant for going down below. So they shotcreted everything.
Look and stay here.
Okay.
Okay,
Interesting.
you got cold?
No.
So this air temperature, maybe today it's even warmer, but this air temperature comes out of here at 52 degrees, and it comes out of there 365 days a year. So on a nice hot day, Jordan, it'll be 90 degrees out here. You'll see all of the tour guys standing here BSing. So, and because it's flowing in, it's like air conditioning. Okay, let's go this way. Let's go, Logan. How you doing? 7? Well, I'm telling you a story about a 7-year-old kid. We're gonna go this way. So guys, where we were standing was the side of the shaft. This is the back side of the shaft. So this is actually, you can see that it's been divided into thirds. So right over here at the end of that cable is the west cage. At the end of this cable is the east cage. And over in that little silver building there, that's actually where the utilities enter. So that is where electricity goes down, compressed air goes down, cooling water for the drill bits goes down. The water that we need to keep this mine dry comes up, and we have to pump out about 2.5 million gallons of water out of this mine every month. It comes up to here, travels down to our filtration plant. Down to the filtration plant, we filter out a little bit of copper, we filter out a little bit of cobalt, and we release it into Lake Vermilion. Over there, Shayla, is also where our emergency evacuation route is located. So over there we got a ladderway, and the ladderway goes down 2,341 levels. It's really cool to get down to the bottom and then look up and watch that thing go into eternity, basically. You can't see the top of it. So again, guys, if we had that skip, and let's say the west one was next to come up, we'd park this Larry car right here underneath the chute. We dump the Larry car, and then dump the skip into the Larry car goes around. Next time it's going to park itself right over here. So we have to alternate. And again, the best we can do is once every 8 minutes, okay? Let's move on.
Logan, yes.
So, guys, this is. You did. Nice job, man. So this is actually the sedan car, and the sedan car is a 2-ton capacity ore car. If you were the bumpers, the entry-level workers down here, it would be your job to pick up iron ore out. Get down the pile right there where Jack is standing. We basically fill this thing. You do a 12-hour shift, push them down the shaft station, dump them, push them up, fill them up. And so this is when we mine our ore, and this is the ore, we have to make sure that it comes down in manageable size pieces. we can waste our dynamite and our time and energy by drilling those drill holes closer together. We can save money by putting them farther apart. But when they go farther apart, they get so big that we can't handle them. This one's going to be tough already. I'm going to let you, Jordan, tell us if it's heavier than you were expecting or lighter. Well, look at this. He makes it look like
It's heavier than a field rock.
anybody else? Wow, that was impressive. A lot of people don't do that. Most people come here and they struggle.
Well, I'm a farmer on the side, so picking up rocks is kind of not foreign.
Oh, you want that?
I can lift it.
Anybody else want to give it a shot? No. So again, guys, this thing here would have been pushed up and down the tracks by manpower. The
Wow.
workers pushed it down. After a while, we got smart. We said, let's get some mules down here, and the mules pull these things up down. They could pull 3 or 4 of these cars up and down. The thing is,
Riding
the
up
mules,
and down with a mule in that cage had to have been an interesting experience.
they don't get into the cage. They don't fit. They don't fit into the skip. So the only way you could get them into the underground is you got to put them into a belly sling and hang them below the skip, lower them down, use them down there, and when they're in the ground, Shayla, that they're going to die down there.
Once they go down, they
Once
stay
they go
down.
down, they're staying down there. Okay? All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're a solid kid. 1, 2, 1.
Well, look at
Give me
his
that
dad.
rock
His
over there.
dad's able to lift the rock.
All right, on you. So, guys, you guys saw this stuff in the movie. It's getting damp out here. You guys saw all this equipment in the movie. So that's the sedan car. That was the original. Then we switched over. We got bigger. We went to the Granby. This Granby car is a 6-ton capacity. This is a side dump. This has got knuckles on it, so you can hook a bunch of them together, pull them down as a train set, basically. We did have electric trolley engines down below that could pull these around. Over there you got the Imco loader. That Imco loader is run on 100 pounds of air pressure. The dangers of this thing here, come on Abby, you're going to be my loader operator. Come on over here, get on the car. Stuck right up on there. And so you only got to worry about this handle and about that handle. This thing here, again, runs on a piped in compressed air. That stuff comes in at 100 pounds of air pressure. Hard piped, except for the last 25 feet, and that's rubber hose. If Abby accidentally runs over that hose, you're going to have a wild snake trying to take her head off. The bucket comes in, and it comes overhead to get it into the Granby car over there. If one of those 100-pound nuggets over there is in the bucket and decides it's going to shift and slide out, Abby's going to have reflexes like a cat to get out of the way. If she doesn't get out of the way, it's going to be a foot injury, it's going to be a fib, it's going to be a femur, it's going to be a wrist, something's going to break, but it's going to be a broken bone, okay?
All the cars and these engines and stuff, so to get all that stuff down, did they do finish assembly down there, or they lowered it all through?
They will finish assembly down there.
I was going to say, that's
You got it? Let's go this way. So that one will break your bones. The first one will mess up your back. This one will take your life. This one is that 3-drum tugger. And the dangers of this thing is, right where I'm standing is actually going to be a chute. It's called a raise. That raise goes down anywhere from 25 to 185 feet. And that is free fall. You basically are going to use this tugger. You take the 2 drums, the cable on the outside, you pull those cables out, you run them through the snatch blocks or the pulleys that are anchored to the ceiling. You pull the cables through, hook them up to the back side of the scraper here. That gives you the ability to pull the scraper away. You hook the center cable up to the front, and that gives you the ability to pull all that ore into the raise here. This thing here, guys, if you're not careful, you are going to fall into this thing, and that's going to be the end of your life, okay? That thing there will take your hearing. This is the hearing. This thing is basically run on 100 pounds of air pressure. This is noisy. The guts of this thing are noisy. Drill steel hitting iron ore is going to be noisy. Within 2 years, you are going to lose 100% of your hearing. That's just a fact of life, okay? Guys, when you're drilling, you're making dust. When that dust is airborne, you are going to be breathing it.
Lungs.
The company doesn't provide you guys any respiratory protection. So for 12 hours, you're going to be breathing at least that much dust. But then once you blast this stuff loose, You guys are using the dynamite. You blast it loose. After the blast, the stope is going to be filled with 10 times the amount of dust. It's going to be filled with smoke. And Shayla, that smoke is going to be an irritant to your eyes. It's going to make you tear for the next 12 hours. And it's going to have nitroglycerin in it. The fumes are, and you guys will be breathing those. That'll cause you to have headaches, make you nauseous, sick. This was not a good place to work. Okay, let's go inside where it's a little drier.
That guy said it was safe to work here.
The color line.
He said it was better than the other mine. Everything is relative.
Just to let you know, Jess, people ask me how many men actually got killed in this mine. And we actually had a historian that worked here, and he said that he went through all of the records he could get his hands on, and he could prove 150 men got killed here over 80 years, which is pretty good. But he said, you gotta understand that this company is everything here. They are gonna be your employer, they're gonna be your landlord, they're gonna be your grocer, your milliner, your hardware man, and they're gonna be your doctor. So Jackie, I don't tell the story. If your father worked at this mine, and if your father fell down that raise or down that shaft, and he fell 1,000 feet, when he hits the bottom, I don't like to sound bad, but he's a dead man. So the company would have picked your father up. They would have put him on a backboard, run him back, right back to surface here, and run him down to the company hospital, and the company doctor would have signed your father's death certificate saying that your father died at the hospital where he's found. Doesn't say anything about injuries sustained at the underground mine. So this company was powerful enough that they could skew and manipulate statistics in their favor. And they did. Safety awards, hell, we got all kinds of safety awards.
Because they didn't die here.
You know who kept the records?
Yeah.
You know who kept the records? The company. So we could pat ourselves on the back all day long and say how great we were. Yeah, it wasn't that great. So, okay? So guys, this is the drill shop. This is basically where all of the drill bits that we dulled over a 12-hour shift would come back, and we had to sharpen them in here. So we had 12 of these bit grinders in here. We had 2 forges. We had a shanking machine. We had an oil bath, a water bath. We had index tables. We got threading machines. If it had anything to do with operations, it could be taken care of right in here in the shop. Okay? Let's go to the crushers.
Which is not a very big shop when you think about
Yeah.
the size of this mining up.
No. But we had more shops out. This was just for the drill bits.
Oh, this is just drill bits.
Yeah. Okay? Now, if you look at the floor, guys, this floor, these bricks that Logan's walking around on, these are actually wood bricks. Okay? Oh. Can I have that? Should we match them? Now I'm going to forget about this later on. When you're giving a tour to somebody else, and they're going to say, what are you doing? Come on this way, guys. Ah, Logan. Oh yeah, put yours on too, Logan. Sheila, what do you do for a living? You clean houses? Okay.
Newspaper editor.
What am I going to walk on this way now?
Uh-oh.
Let's get inside. We can look around from in here too. Get out of the rain a little bit. And you're a farmer? You said you farm?
On the side.
Okay. Louis, what do you do?
So,
What?
sales.
Sales?
I'm a professor.
Oh, you are? Where
Excuse me.
at?
St. Louis University.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the Coast Guard. I'm the officer of the Coast Guard.
Okay.
I manage the geospatial. That's where they ran Coast Guard.
Oh, so you travel. So guys, if you take a walk over here, you're gonna look out here where I've moved the inside just to get in. But out here, you guys gotta see the community. This out here is called Soudan, and that's what we call it today. And in those early years, this used to be a series of locations out here. If you were Finnish, you lived in Fintown. If you were Swede, you lived in Swedetown. If you were Slovenian, you lived in Brighton. If you were Italian, you lived in Little Italy. We have 6 different locations here. It all depends on what language you're speaking. That would determine where the company is going to house you. You guys will be renting those houses from the company, so at the end of the month, rent gets paid before you get paid. Okay? So, and that is, like I say, it melded over the years, it has melded into one community of Sudan. Okay? Now, if you look down below here, you see that's where the railroad is, so that's where the rail cars that we load would pull into. We'd bring out a string of those things, we'd pull them right back down to 2 harbors. 2 harbors, we had our loading docks down there, and we had our own railroad here. So, okay. Now, this building here is the crusher house, and in this crusher house we have 2 crushers. They are both jaw crushers, and those 2 jaw crushers have got a stationary jaw, and then you got a movable jaw. The movable jaw runs off of elliptical and basically crushes the rocks. We'll go downstairs. You guys ever hear of OSHA or MSHA? Ever have to deal with them? Huh?
I've heard of them.
Yeah. So this place here shut down in 1962, and I will guarantee you that in 1962, OSHA or MSHA was not a federal agency yet. There was nobody around at that time to protect the workers. So we're going to take a walk down below here. You guys want to see how this works first? Let's come on over here. Let's do this first. So, this car, this Larry car, again, it's run by trolley power. So it is DC power. It's got the arm, the power leads are up there. It comes in here, floats in, gets powered in. At the bottom of this car, there's actually a switch, a latch that will get triggered. There's a little ramp on the inside of the rails here that opens up. This door, because of the weight in here, will actually flop open and hinge up here, swings open, and everything slides out. If you take a good look over there, Jordan, you'll see that the rivet line on that side, the floor is actually at a 45-degree angle. So all we got to do is stop here, let that door swing open, everything slides down the chute here, drops down onto electromagnetic feeder that shakes the stuff onto a pan conveyor. The pan conveyor carries it over in a controlled manner, dumps the stuff into the jaws. The jaws will crush it. Everything that gets crushed to pass through the jaws has to be 7 inches or smaller. If it can pass through, it drops down onto a conveyor belt. The conveyor belt takes it out to the head house. At the head house, we can either direct load it right into the rail cars, or we can send it off to the end of the stockpile, and we'll stockpile it. We can load it later with a steam shovel whenever we get more cars. Okay? That making sense to you, Louis?
Yep, it does.
Any questions?
For a lot of work if this gets jammed, right?
It gets dumped. We'll go down below, but see down there, you see the heavy chains hanging down there? That's actually to slow the flow down a little bit. You see them down there, Abby?
Yeah.
Addie?
I see them.
You see
Would
them.
this fence been around it, or was it just an open hole in the ground?
The what?
Was it just an open hole in the ground, or was this fence around for them?
No, the fence wouldn't have been here.
So it's just an open hole.
Somebody could have.
Just be careful.
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
Just be
so
careful.
Could fall in.
Gary said ocean wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
It was just ocean.
I'll show you downstairs, so really why I know. Come on down this way, guys. You want to give me a hand there? Logan? It's going to get tougher out of here. Mom and Dad probably don't want to carry you down here.
Logan, hold up, I'll carry you.
So, if you look down here, so those are the jaws down there, Robert. And that one there is the stationary jaw. That one over there is the movable jaw. Everything that passes through the bottoms of the jaws is sized okay. Okay? Lots of noise, lots of dust, lots of spilling. This is the bridge hook that we have hanging here. If this thing was actually operating, that stuff would be dumped in there. We'd leave this thing hang right in the floor. If it jams up down there, all we gotta do is lift it with the overhead crane and
It'll
put that
hook
thing.
the rock.
All right, let's go down a little bit further here, and we'll get you guys. So you guys are gonna have to be careful here. Logan, he's probably gonna go with Dad here.
Come here, bud. Carry you.
So guys, this is an Alice Chalmers crusher. This was put in here in 1936. This thing here was made in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's all cast steel. This was the largest crusher in the state of Minnesota up until 1950. 1950, the taconite industry came into play, and those things, crushers in the taconite industry will war on this thing. So, this is a 150 horsepower electric motor here. This thing's got a soft start, so you can put this thing, and this thing will torque through anything. This 150 horsepower motor runs these 12 V-belts. 12 V-belts run the 6-foot shiv here that runs the guts of the crusher. You know how I know that MSHA wasn't here in 1962? They never even had to put a guard over this. MSHA would shut you down so fast it would make your head spin. You know, this would be intolerable. This is the biggest violation I would have ever have experienced. I used to think, man, MSHA was a pain in the rear. But now I realize that they gotta be, that they serve a purpose. They are here to protect the workers, and I think that if MSHA wasn't here and this thing was still operating, this thing probably still wouldn't have been guarded.
So this guy with dynamite sticking out of his pocket.
That's just a tool. Come on over here, guys. So again, 1936, guys. You know, I'm guessing that we probably had heavy-duty equipment to lift this stuff into position, get it off the cars, off the rail car. 1893. You seeing that there, Eddie? So guys, this thing here, this crusher here is an 1893 model. This thing comes apart basically in 3 pieces. So when this thing comes here, it's coming in up the lake from Lake Superior, comes to 2 harbors. They load it onto a flat car. They bring the flat car up here. The flat car ends up at the bottom of the hill here. Without mobile cranes and mobile forklifts, how do you get this thing off of that flat car at the bottom of the hill? Well, you know what? I actually had one day, I gave a tour out here, and I never gave it that kind of thought, but I had 2 guys on tour. One guy was 95, one guy was 97. They were both engineers. And they were, the one guy said, I know how they did that. They built a tripod, and they make a tripod out of poles the size of telephone poles. And the other guy says, I call bullshit. They wouldn't have made a tripod, they would have built a quad pod. And these 2 guys were both at it the whole time, but they both agreed. You build yourself that quad pod, you know, over the rail system. You pull the rail car underneath of it, and then you hang your block and tackles directly overhead. The more wheels you get on the block and tackle, the more lifting capability you've got. He said you basically pull that thing up, lift that piece of machinery up a ½ an inch, just enough to pull the car out. No sense pulling any higher than you have to. You pull the car out, you drop it down onto a skid. The skid will be sitting on rollers or on logs. Basically pull it up the hillside, build another quad pod up here, do your horizontal lift or your vertical lift, and then set another set of block and tackles over there to help make your horizontal drift pull, and then you just position it in here. And it's all done the old-fashioned way, with any kind of leverage that you can get. Okay?
How do they even know that the floor would be able to hold that?
That's the engineering, you know.
Was there any engineering, or was it just let's put it down and see what happens?
Yeah.
I can see.
So,
Hold my beer and then set this
yeah.
I can,
Okay.
Is that a big wrench, bud?
Yeah. Take a picture of the kids with that wrench.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Here.
Let Addie hold that. Here, Addie, hold that. Here, Addie, you hold this.
Here.
Now you take a picture.
Hold this so it doesn't fall over. Man, he's got a stick of dynamite.
Smile. Look at me. Thank you.
I better take the dynamite. You think that's real dynamite? You're smart. You're smart.
I can see.
Any questions over here, guys? Jesse, anything?
No, sir. It's really old though.
It is.
1893.
On the side, it's stamped right into that cast seal. 1893. So
And they would have used this as a
They were still using this in 68.
Where did all the wood come from?
All this timber came from right here on site. So they set up mills. So, and you'll see over the engine house, the the timber framing for it up above, all that timber came from, it's all virgin white pine coming out of here. This is probably all virgin Wanderlust fir or something. Okay? Let's go over to the engine house. Go ahead. Yeah. Well, yeah, we were hoping. I got Al Jones was still on hold. Because the hoist that we're going to go visit right now is 100 years old next year. And I thought maybe.
I don't know. I know they're big. Everything in Milwaukee went out. Where
Yeah.
the fiber is for.
Up this line, it's down. Go, just go. You're fine. You can do it.
Got chilly. It is. It is. The fog colors too. It's very nice.
So guys, if you take a good look out here. Hey guys, come on along. You were on tour already? Okay. So you see up there, they got two cables coming out of the engine house. The top cable actually is attached to the east cage, so the kind of the cage in the center. The bottom cable is attached to the cable to the cage on this side. Okay? The west cable. I'm only telling you that because inside you're only going to see one of the cables. gonna get in here where it's dry and it's warm. It's dry and it's warm. You didn't bring the extra coffee there, did you, Jesse?
I drank it all. It was delicious coffee. I made it over the fire this morning.
Yeah. So guys, this is that 1924 College Challenge course. This is the course that we've been College Challenge. The drawing motor over there is Westinghouse 600 horsepower motor. This, I told you guys already, there are 2 cables attached to this hoist. Each one of those cables is 3,000 feet long. The cable is actually what they call an 1.5" 619 right-hand regular range cable. So we got a crosscut of it over there on Louis' right side. It's called an 1.5" because that's the diameter. It's called 619 because there are 6 bundles of wire wrapped around the center core. Each one of the bundles has got 19 strands of wire in it, and it's called right-hand regular lay cable because these wires are twisted just so that this stuff actually has a memory to it. When this cable comes off of the hoist, it can travel 2,341 feet off of the hoist. When it comes back onto the hoist, Jesse, it comes on and lays in exactly the same spot that it left from. It never fails. And that cable that's on there right now has been on there for over 30 years, and it has never mislocated itself. It always comes back. So that cable safe, people talk to say, you have to change it? And the answer is yes. We changed it last. One of the cables got changed in 1990. The other cable got changed out in 1992. We test it annually. We do it non-structurally. We do it with electromagnetic testing. We check for continuity. We are around 6% wear. Right now we are at 3.5% wear. He was sitting right up here, and those guys are still operating this hoist the same way they did back in 1924. Still the same levers. This is Dan. He's getting up into the chair right now. There are actually people in the cage or on the cage right now, so they are working off of level 27, or off of level 20 on the east cage.
There's somebody in there?
There is.
Down there?
There is.
Repairing.
Yeah.
Repairing it. Yeah, cleaning up I think right now. So the east cage, and over here, the west cage is, yeah, okay. So, what's that? Yeah, so the cables do. The cable actually, I told you the upper cable is for the east cage. So if he comes up with the east cage, that means that cable will start being put back onto the cage on the front. On the bottom side, it's coming out. It happens simultaneously. So now, anybody in here would be nervous getting into that cage and going for a ride into the underground? Well, it's Shayla I got to worry about. It's Shayla we're going to have to persuade. We protect you in all kinds of different ways. That cable right now, that's on there, that is rated for 90 tons. And yet when we bring you underground, we ride you down in that cage weight included, plus 24 people in the cage, is going to weigh less than 6 tons. But it's rated for 90 tons, so we've got you protected there. We protect you by using a foolproof braking system. That is called a gravity hydraulic electric gravity braking system. So the braking system, you see that arm coming straight off out there? We've got a rod at the end of it.
Yeah.
That rod has a 1,000 pound weight down there. And at the end of that 1,000 pound weight, it takes hydraulics to lift that weight up so you can release the brakes.
Okay.
That hydraulic pump is operated with electricity. If you lose electricity, it shuts the hydraulic pump down, the weight drops, and puts the brake onto it automatically. You can't do it anymore. Okay? You gotta wait for electricity to come back.
Has that ever happened?
It does.
Just curious.
Then you're on the 3 hours.
Yeah.
Not very often, not very often. So I've been doing it for 15 years, and I've been stuck in the cage twice. So not very often. So. But The red and green device, that is called the lily control. And the lily control is basically an overspeed and over travel protection device. So when the drum starts turning this way, those balls start spinning this way. And the faster the drum goes this way, the faster those balls spin. Pretty soon, centrifugal force is going to throw those balls out.
It's like a governor carbureted engine.
It is, perfect, you got it right. So when he's going wide open, the balls are actually horizontal. If he gets going too fast, it's going to raise those things up the stem, and it's going to shut the power out. Hey guys, come on in. Come on in, you may as well join us. I'm Carl. I don't think that door was even supposed to be open, so. Oh, no problem. So I was just telling, this is the hoist that still operates and brings people on tour. You guys aren't going to be going underground today because we're shut down. Right. So, but this is that hoist. Any questions on the hoist itself?
What is this?
What is this? This is actually a chimney.
Just a chimney, okay.
And this, by the way, guys, this building was built here in 1900. All the bricks that you're seeing here, this is all bricks made right here in Tower at the Tower Brick Factory. If there's timber framing up overhead, this is all virgin timbers from around here. This building was built here in 1900. You're going to see there's no insulation in here. So they didn't need a furnace in here. They had that bad boy working in here. That's right. This is the compressor. And that's a Worthington double-lung compressor. It is operated off a 500 horsepower electric motor over there. This thing here, the compressor's pulling and pushing in both lungs at the same time. And this thing here has a 2,500 CFM capacity at 100 pounds of air pressure. This thing here will provide air for all the equipment that we are going to need underground. So it's the tug load for the drill. This thing here will basically provide air to the strategically located receiver tanks that we've got underground. We're going to have a bunch of those. This will maintain each and every one of them at 100 pounds of air pressure, and then we draw off of those receiver tanks to run the equipment.
How often do they have to shut it down to kind of service that engine? Because it sounds like it was a pretty important part of
It is. So I told these guys already, if you're a miner here, you're going to be working here 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. So it'd be basically a 24-hour operation, for sure 6 days a week. And then Sundays, they shut down the operations and they can do all the maintenance. Maintenance came in full force. Okay?
And how often did things break? I mean, because they're running.
We would figure out if they don't like to, if they break down, there's no two ways left. But they're going to put every resource that they've got on fixing it. Okay?
Excuse me.
Sure.
Because they're making money.
That's, yeah.
Run the mine, run them pulling ore out. So when they want to come back up, the hoist operator is going to be counted. So there's actually 74 wraps on it. It's a single wrap drum. So he's got 6 wraps left. And then once he gets down to 6 wraps, he's got markers on the side. And it'll say, 27 or surface or not. He knows where to go. They will let him know.
Like a radio?
Well, on every level, because this is all repair work. These guys do have radios, but right now, if they're at the 20th level, at the 20th level, they also have that cord. They got a code, a buzzer system. And if you've got access to that, they're going to use that. If they don't have access to that, they got to depend on a radio, and that radio has been sketchy in some spots. We were here maybe a month or so ago. They lost communications with on the radio. They're saturated for 5 hours. The guys out below were trying to get hold of it. They couldn't. They got the rescue ladder over there. He actually jumped from one cave to the other cave. Reach over, try to get over on that ladder. Get down the ladder. From 21, they brought the kids down to 21. Everybody got off and on.
So where do you find guys to work on mines? I have to think that is a dying.
Right there.
Those guys put on there fix that stuff?
Like,
Oh yeah, these guys. These guys. These are the maintenance
Yeah,
guys.
they do this. Who's down there now? Where do you
Well,
find
the
people to
repair work.
on?
That's these guys right here.
You go down there and repair stuff? What's that? You go down there and repair stuff?
That's their job. Yeah, and so do these guys. These guys got doing maintaining. Those guys are doing the repair work right now.
Do you have to go to school for it?
Yes, yes.
We have little kids.
Robbie, the answer is yes. The School of Hard Knocks. So where are you guys from? Minneapolis. No. So this is basically and we basically normally do with underground.
Well, when I was in 6th grade.
You guys gotta come back. The hit has changed. You know, so these guys are very built down there. They had caverns the size of football fields. There, I believe. So guys, let's take a walk out here. So we talked. You guys can join.
Here we go.
What do you say?
He said they're coming up pretty quick so we can see.
Oh, did they call you already? Okay, we're gonna go back out here. We'll talk about the electrical things.
And then come back. I want to Well, they would come up over there, wouldn't they? I just want to see that thing. Oh, that thing.
First of all, guys, I gotta tell you, right now we are standing in an area that used to be completely off limits. We were never allowed to come in here prior to the year that they put the elevator in. This is the electrical room. These are all transformers. And these transformers will bring line voltage coming in from up there, actually from over there, up there, and it comes in at 34,500 volts delta. These transformers actually bring your voltage down to 2,400 volts delta. And this stuff here used to have PCB oil in it. And PCB oil was a real strong carcinogen. And so they said, nobody's allowed in here. Well, we wanted to put the elevator in here. And we said, the only way you're going to do that, you're going to isolate these. You're going to knock these down. You're going to put new transformers outside. You're going to have to drain these, flush them, certify them that they are PCB free. And then you guys can bring them in. So I like bringing people down here. I'm going to trade places with you up here, so I don't have to scream so loud. And I'm going to get Maddie up here with you. Guys, usually I save this tour for when we go out, and a lot of times I bring people out to the pit that's at the far end of the parking lot. And you guys should definitely go out there and go witness that. Because that will explain why this mine, why we started going underground. Those pits got to be so deep and dangerous. You'll understand that pit that's there is the absence of the iron ore. That they took it all out of there. What you're looking at out there is all waste rock. It's all really greenstone or abandoned jasper. That stuff out there. Think about it when you get on there. Who did all that dangerous work out there? And I'm telling you right now, it's all immigrants. Okay? And I told these folks, by the way, I'm an immigrant myself. I was born in Holland. My parents came to this country in 1957. In 1957, I was Addie's age, 7 years old. And when my parents came to this country, they had been immigrants once before in their life. And my parents were Dutch, but they were actually born and raised in Indonesia. And Indonesia used to be called the Dutch East Indies. It was a colony of Holland. So my parents were working for the Dutch government in the Dutch East Indies. They were Dutch citizens as colonists. They had a very nice lifestyle over there. And then the Second World War happens. And my father ended up enlisting in the Dutch Navy. My father got captured. He got put into a Japanese concentration camp for 2.5 years. My mother, along along with my Oma, so my grandmother, and my two aunts, my Tante Corey, my Tante Billy, my mom, and their mother. They got captured because they were fair-skinned people living in an Asian country. Identifiable as Dutch, they got captured, put into a female concentration camp. They spent 2.5 years there. The war ends, parents had the opportunity to go back, and they said Liberation Day happened not too far after the end of the war. They said, you guys can go back. My parents said nobody was in physical condition to travel back to the Dutch East Indies. So they stayed in Singapore 6 more months. Finally, they were healthy enough. They went back and they realized that their homes had been completely destroyed. Their lifestyle is gone. They said they decided right there they're going to stay and they're going to try to rebuild. They spent the next 2.5 years rebuilding. And then Indonesia got its independence, taken over by a dictator, Mr. Sukarno. And Sukarno says all of you Dutch people need to leave and go back to Holland. And that was 300,000 people. Got to leave there and fit back into a tiny little country of Holland. My parents go there. My father was half Chinese, by the way. My father had dark yellow skin. A lot of people assumed my father was Indonesian, and everybody hated the Indonesians because they kicked out all of the Dutch people. Okay? So my father said he got into Holland, and he said he never felt so discriminated against. We lived that life for 8 years. After 8 years, he says, we have an opportunity to immigrate. We have an opportunity, we can go to one of the 3 A's. We can go to Australia, we can go to Argentina, or we can go to America. And my father said, we're going to America. That's the greatest country in the world. So again, for the second time, my parents left everything they owned in Holland, monetarily. We got onto a ship to throw to bed in the middle of January 1957. We spent 14 days crossing the Atlantic Ocean in rough seas. On Addie's age, 7 years old, I'm seasick 14 out of 14 days. I can remember it. Seasick 14 out of 14 days. When we got to New York City, I was the happiest kid in the world. I got land beneath my feet. And I'm saying, we're here. Thank God. And my father said, Karel, kinderen, we gaan terug. Which basically means, Karel, kids, we're all back. And I said, nee papa, we gaan niet terug. And he said, nee Karel, we gaan niet terug naar Holland. We gaan terug naar the Statue of Liberty. He said, we're not going back to Holland. We got to get onto a ship, a ferry, and we're going to go visit the Statue of Liberty. When we get out there on the ship, my father gives myself, my 2 older brothers, and my 2 younger sisters a lecture of a lifetime. He says, she's the reason we're here. She stands in the middle of this harbor, beacon in the air, welcoming us, guiding us to the greatest country in the world. My father said, in her left arms is the most important part for him. He said that is the tablets of justice that will guarantee that there is going to be no discrimination based on the color of my skin. And he said, then in Dutch, he read off those English words. Send me your poor, your tired, your heart, mass is yearning to breathe free. He said, that's who I am, kids. That's who I am. I'm that person who wants to breathe free of discrimination. We get off of that ferry, we got to get onto a train, we got to take a train ride from New York City to Duluth. We get into Duluth, the depot, and there's an immigration room there that we still have to pass through. We got to scrub down, we got to give up our old clothes, get rid of the lice that we didn't have. They give you new clothes. There stood my parents at the exit of that shower room. They didn't speak a word of English. None of the kids spoke a word of English, but they're into a new journey of their life. That's something pretty remarkable by today's standards. Guys, I never gave that whole trip, that lecture, a second thought for over 50 years. But one day I'm down in Duluth with my oldest grandson, Johan. And Johan, we're down hanging out down in Canal Park. And Johan says, Opa, why don't we go to the depot? It's been changed and converted to a museum. He said, I think you'd like it. I said, okay, we'll go in there. And as soon as I walked in there, Shayla, I walked down those big wide stairs and I said, this is like deja vu. I can remember 50-something years ago, I was 7. Get down there and we find the immigration room. They've replicated it in that museum. Get in there, and there's the shower room on the left-hand side, smaller version of what I remember. There is even a window on the right-hand side that I can remember my parents sitting in a little room signing papers. But what I didn't remember is that banner. They have written a banner on there. It says, "Send me your poor, your tired, your huddled, your masses, yearning to breathe." Guys, I walk into that immigration room and I started to cry. And I cannot believe how quickly I went from crying to the where I couldn't catch my breath. And I haven't cried like that since I was a kid. And I was crying that way, and my grandson, Johan, says, "Opal, what are you crying for?" And I said, "You know what, Johan, every day I give tours at this mine. And we talk a little bit about the immigrants that I said, but I think I'm going to change that." I said, "We don't give enough respect to those people. This is the greatest country in the world. I'm a citizen by choice. I've made this my country. I get my standards are set pretty high. This country is the greatest country in the world, but it was made great by immigrants, people that were willing to pay it forward. And it's still happening today. I hate to say it, but it's still happening today. It is people who are willing to pay it forward. They are willing to work in shitholes. Then and now, they do it not for themselves, but they do it for the next generation. They do it for the Annies. They do it for the Lowlands of their life. My father came to this country.
What did your father do when for his first job?
He was a boilermaker. Boilermaker.
Oh, really?
Heavy duty steel. So, but my father worked, so he had a craft, but that wasn't good enough for him. He worked, my father worked 16, 18 hours a day. Crazy stuff. There was many days I would say, "Dad, how come you don't come to my swimming meets or don't come to my track meets? Why don't you go to Why don't we do something?" Busy Carl, he said, "Gotta work." "What are you working for?" He said, "I'm working for you, goddammit." He said, "I'm working for you so you get an education and you will go to school, you will go to college." I tell people this story because I am trying to make peace with my father. I didn't go to college, and that pissed my father off. I was my father's biggest disappointment. I got two older brothers that ended up with master's degree. I got two younger sisters that went to 4 years of school. One was a nurse, one was a teacher. I went right into the mine. I'm telling you, I was so sick and tired of hearing my dad brag about my two older brothers and my two younger sisters. I never got one word worth shit from my dad. Because I didn't, he said all of that work that he went through and I didn't take advantage of it. So I said, I'm trying to make peace right now with my father by doing this, by sharing stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, we got to get you guys up here, come on.
Go ahead.
So, imagine that. 60-some years ago, I was your age. wound up on the drum. All the cable for the west cage is off of the drum and hanging in the shaft. One cage is coming down, simultaneously the other cage comes down. So right now he has stopped. He has signaled the people out of the shaft. So the cage is yours.
Where do they come out?
Out there by the shaft. Yeah, by the shaft. What's that? It is 2,340 feet. So right now he's just going to move that cage, get it away from the surface, get it to a optimal position. That's all I'm doing. Yeah. Put it to sleep for a couple of hours. Let him take his nap. Let him take him out here. Because they released, they did give him a double. So you hear the buzzer, the beep beep, that means we're clear. We told you it's the cage is yours, it's the hoist operator. With the one beep, that's saying the cage belongs to the people out of the shaft.
You know, as far as that cable, I mean, does it ever have to be replaced? Does it break down?
We do.
Does it break? I mean, does it get old and kind of brittle?
That cable that's out there has been there since 1990. One cable, and the other cable was changed out in 1992.
And what are they made of?
They're made out of steel. It's basically steel.
Which way are you going off the building?
I think we'll take them all out that way, and I'll lock up. I didn't go out there, so somebody else might go open. And I
We still can.
yeah, so it's not a big deal. But you want to lock that one? I'll take them all out that one.
Okay, yeah, we're on that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're in where it's dry, and all that. We'll make sure that answered all your questions. I'll come back to you. You said about the cable, so I've already explained to some of these folks. That cable on there is what they call 1.5" 619 right-hand regular leg cable. We check that cable out annually. We do it non-destructively. We do it with what they call electromagnetic field, so we're checking for continuity. We are allowed 6% wear. Right now we're at 3.5% wear, and it's been there since 1990 and 1990.
So what is the wear? When you say wear, what's your anticipation about when you're saying you checked it, 3 years gone by? How long do they really last?
I don't know. That's a tough one because right now we don't make that many moves. When they were operating, they were moving steady. So they might get 20 years. We only get 60 years out of this one. Yeah.
Does it check for broken strands in the cable?
It does.
It does?
Yep.
You're allowed how many broken strands in?
Well, they don't call it that. We just call it wear.
Right.
And we're allowed 3.5% wear. That cable is so overrated, guys. I've already told these guys that cable is actually rated for 90 tons. And when we roll you guys down in the cage on the rail system, we're just saying that's 6 tons. Cage plus 24 people. That's 6 tons. So we are really overrated. Oh, we're gonna get you guys out. Is this another tour coming in? There's another one, Carl. Oh, we're gonna get you guys out this way, and come on out.
We got it all in film. Oh, that's cool.
Trying to.
Yeah, good to do. Like a little documentary or something.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? You can do that with the nice phones now. You can take some really good stuff, huh?
Yep.
Your own film to your own filmmaking. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
I worked on an oceanographic research ship.
Are you the last one, Luke?
Yes, I think so.
I worked on an oceanographic research ship for a year, and we used the same.
Did you hear the whistle?
The same thing.
Oh, yeah.
We were lowering our.
Oh, basically, this is actually that code that we're using is actually an international national underground code. Right? Messaging. So, any questions?
So now you yourself you're retired, obviously. When did you retire from the mining business?
I retired in 2000.
Okay.
And I had 32 years of service. So oh yeah, you guys are coming. Now I gotta lock her back up. Are you getting the last ones out?
We are the last ones.
So, I retired. I only retired because the company that I worked for, and where I worked was right out there on the horizon. If you look, the tree line kind of ends. There's another horizon on the backside of that. It was called Erie Mining Company.
Okay.
And it ended up as LTV Steel Mining Company. They went bankrupt in 2000, and so we shut the doors. You guys are welcome.
When do they start to go down again?
We will be given tours next May.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds really good.
So, okay?
All right.
Well, thanks so much.
Thanks for coming, my man.
Yep, thanks so much, Josh. Dutch.
Dutch.
Dutch, yeah. Was that the name, right?
Yeah, so if you guys, and it's worth your walk down. Go to the far end of the second parking lot, and you'll see the boardwalk going in.
Okay.
It will make 100% sense.
I think it's very slippery over there, so watch out. I like you guys. It's a van.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you get that from?
It's a work in progress. It's a VW van again. The last year
Yeah.
we made it was 1992,
Yeah.
91.
It has
And,
our bed in the back, so when we camp.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been trying to put to get like a topper
Yes.
and then get a bed back there.
Yes.
It is.
So, but when I saw you guys, I'm like, that's a very cool idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's really nice. And it's old. I mean,
Yeah,
it's right now.
you wouldn't see that. You probably imported that, right? Because I don't
No,
think
no, it's from here.
from
It's
here.
from
It's
here.
from here, but it's old. It's a 91.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
1991. Last year they made it. They only put a 95
Mm-hmm.
horsepower engine in it.
Yeah.
That's why it's not really fast.
Yeah.
People are putting Subaru engines in it now and
Uh-huh.
other engines.
So you have it decked out with the bed and.
Well, it came with the bed.
Mhm.
We put in a different floor.
Uh-huh.
We took one of the seats out
Yeah.
because it had a back seat because it's a van.
Yeah, in
We
a.
just made it one big space so we could put our stuff in, and then we have one. It's a chair, but then it
Mhm.
opens up into the bed.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't see them a lot here, but I grew up originally in Africa. We
Yes, lots of them.
we have that's very
Yep.
very very common for.
In fact, I was in Africa and I loved that they had these big, they're like buses, and then the tent was on top because
Yeah.
we went on a safari.
Oh, safari, okay.
And you can't be down low. You have to
Be able
up.
to see,
So
yeah.
that was really interesting because they had a lot of, they were more, big tires stuff because they were going,
Yeah, off road, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's a cool setup.
Yeah, it is.
Cameroon.
Cameroon?
Yeah, West Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good to meet you guys. Enjoy. You too.